All right, welcome back to another video. This is making Hyperpop 10 tips and tricks. I hope this video is helpful for you. If not entertaining, let's get right into it. So here's a song that I made just for this video. Make sure to stay to the end if you want to hear the whole thing. So the first thing I've got is using glitch fills. I just found some glitches on Splice and then I made them my own. I ran them through a bunch of different distortion plugins, but also this plugin I like on Ableton. It's a native Ableton plugin called Grain Delay, and it does some really cool glitchy effects. So right here, I pulled up the original sample that I loaded in when I started this project, and here's what it sounds like without the effects on it. And here's what I turned it into. So at first it sounds like a bunch of garbage in there, but if you use it in the right way, you can make it sound good. So what I did is I used it as a small sweep sound. And then I did the same thing with just one other sample. This one was called Glitched Out. So that's the majority of the glitch sounds that I have in this song. It's very subtle, but it really takes it to the next level. So the next thing I can talk about is a big distorted synth bass, adding that to your track. So in context, it sounds like this. So yeah, this was a saw wave with distortion on it. You can make it in pretty much any synthesizer. Third tip on the list is using some sort of metallic snare. This is pretty popular in a lot of tracks. In this song, I layered two metallic sounds on top of each other. So I used this snare. It sounds like someone yelling. And then this one as well. It just sounds like someone hitting a piece of metal. And together they sound like this. And my fourth tip on there is to use background sounds, background synthesizers or leads. It doesn't take up a lot of space in the song, but it gives the song melodic support. In this track, I use two examples of this. We've got chords that I play on a sine wave synthesizer. And then the next thing is something I call the saw counter. It's a saw wave and it's subtle enough to where it doesn't take up the main spot of a song. And then altogether, it sounds like this. So my next tip is to have contrasting parts of your song. This will keep people interested throughout your whole song. If, for example, you have a loud section followed by a soft section. So yeah, I do the same thing here. I have my soft section right after a loud one. So I'll go ahead and play that for you. Yeah, so my next tip is if you're using the same melody in different sections, play it with different instruments. So in this song, I use the same melody in 3 different sections, but I use 3 different instruments to play it. It starts off on this pluck. And then it goes to this hard lead synth. And then it goes to this little cute sine melody. All right, my 7th tip on here is about silences. Using silence to your advantage when you're making a song. This is about using silence as if it was like another instrument, using it with purpose. There's 2 ways that I did that in this song. The first is with the synths. For almost every single one, the cutoff for each of these is just as important as the start. I went in with Ableton's utility plugin, which is just a gain, and I just automated the ends. So it was just cutting it off. And then the second part of that is just silence in general in your song. So if your song has a vocal, it's really helpful to bring in the listener if the beat drops out for like a half a bar or something, and then it comes back in. Right there. So this one is a lot shorter. It's only for like an 8th note that everything is quiet. But because all of my cutoffs are nice and clean, that's going to come through in the final mix. So the next tip is more of a general tip for all music making, and this is to not have your drums loop. So what I do for this is to just cut out the drums in certain sections, just so it keeps it interesting. Right here, I've got all of my drums, and if you look at it, you'll see that so much of it is cut out. You see I'm cutting out the hi-hats in different sections, and then in this louder section, I cut out the whole beginnings of every 4 bars. And then in the quiet section, I bring out a percussion sound rather than using like a clap. All right, number 9, we're almost done. So I guess the general theme of most of these tips is using small variations whenever you can. And here's another example of the same thing. Here I've got the same synth playing in a new section, and then rather than having the same loop playing, I'm adding another layer on top of it. So it adds a little bit of variation the second time you hear it. So the first time you hear it, it sounds like this. And then the second time you hear it, it sounds like this. This actually adds a harmony to the layer, but you can also just add in a unison layer if you'd like. I feel like this helps people stay interested with your song because you're adding in something that they haven't heard before. But it also gives your song a bit more unity because it is technically something they've heard before, but it just in a new way. Last tip, here we go, number 10. I saved the best for last. All right, so this last one is pretty specific to Hyperpop. It is using chopped or stuttered fills. I pulled a loop from Splice. And then I pitched it up. And then I chopped it up right here to kind of make sense with the melody of the song. Oh yes, I used one sweep sound in this entire thing. I used it to death. I used so many stutter fills on it. It's just a general white noise sweep sound. And then I also used a stutter fill into the snare using that same vocal piece of the snare. Ooh, here's one. It is a Virtual Riot tom fill that I used the grain delay on and distortion on, and then I bounced it out and then did some of these glitchy chop fills to it. And in the last section, I used the chop effect to kind of end the song, give it some direction towards an end. I kind of use it as a fill on the way out. So yeah, that chop stutter effect is something you'll hear a lot on Hyperpop songs, especially in vocals. So that's all the 10 tips I've got for you. Yeah, I can go ahead and show you the vocals for this song and then play the whole song for you. Make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. All right, so this is the vocal I used. I called it Voice Memo Melody because I recorded it on my phone as I was about to go shower. It was just me mumbling along, but I thought it was a good melody. And then last on here is the actual vocals I recorded. It's just 1, 2 sections, and then it repeats over here. So yeah, this is what it sounds like. I recorded at 100 BPM. I know you don't like to be alone. And then I put it in the effects chain and I sped it up to 170. And then this part took a while to kind of figure out. I transposed it up, but I kept the formants the same. And here's what it sounded like with some auto-tune, some compression, de-esser, formant effect on there, EQing, delay, and reverb. And then I put some OTT on there. Make sure to tune your OTTs. This is what it ended up sounding like. All right, that's enough of me talking. I'm going to go ahead and play this song for you. If you like this song or like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Shooting star, shooting peak, oh, and rain, nothing really